Finally, Pro Week. Thank God. You know, like, I think this off-season sort of thing, but it's not really an off-season. In-between events can sometimes get a little bit slower. But I suppose we've had the PLQ, and then, you know, we had the little mini roster mania that went on. But finally, Pro League is here. So now we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about each of the games. I'm going to give a quick prediction on how I think each of them are going to go. And then we'll see what you guys think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I said we're going to run through every single game. It's over 4 days throughout the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's going to be great to watch. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it does break down. And a first indication of how these teams going up against each other outside of Vegas, of course. Now, I've obviously got the document up on the screen as per normal, and for some reason still got the headphones on, but you can check them out. The new A50s that I managed to get myself off Astro. Thank you for that, guys. Keep an eye on Spitfire. We do have some giveaways going on with the Astro Gaming team coming up very shortly. Just going to leave the blackout lobby I was in. Now, let's get into it. Red Reserve versus Reciprocity is how we're kicking it off, and what a way it is to kick things off as well. You know, I think you look at the two Marshall twins, and they've never played against each other at LAN until now. So, yes, they played each other online, scrims, that sort of thing. But it's going to be a very interesting start between the all-European lineups, apart from Den's obviously over on Reciprocity. Now, I would say that Red Reserve did struggle more at the PLQ than Reciprocity did, with Reciprocity obviously qualifying automatically, albeit just by the skin of their teeth. But I don't feel like Red Reserve lose to EU teams, and if I was to put it on the Marshall brothers, Scraps has been unbelievable so far. Arguably one of the best players on this game at this moment in time. There comes the WhatsApp voice message. Let's just close that one down. But yeah, arguably one of the best teams on the game right now. One of the best players on the game right now. And I think he's going to be a factor in this game. Red's respawn is very good, and I see them winning all the respawn maps here, especially the control I fully put in their favor. Hard points, I would say 70-30 towards Red. I feel as if they should win those. When it comes to S&D, I think Rec will probably take that off them. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Red Reserve in this one, but I feel as if it does go to the last map, I'd be slightly concerned for Red. And this is the ongoing theme with all of Red's games. I don't know if they fixed their S&D yet. And if they haven't, then they might struggle this week if they don't manage to close it out within 4 maps. Because you go to that last map, Red Reserve typically, as said, aren't amazing at search and destroy right now and need to get rid of some mistakes. But I feel like their respawn's strong enough to beat Rec 3-1 in that game. Sorry, I'm just trying to play. Got a new mic arm, as you can tell. Play with where I want to keep it. I think we'll keep it in front of my face, just so you don't have to wait. You can still see everything, but let's move into the next game. Okay, so there's only 2 games on the Monday. The second one is OG versus Midnight. Baptism of fire for Midnight, isn't it, into the Pro League? Now, they did fantastic in the PLQ, going flawless in their group, look really good. This is where we find out how good they really actually are. I feel like this is a big step too far, though. They'll come in nice and hot, but realistically, I think Optic Gaming will use their experience. We see how good they looked in Vegas. They're the #1 team right now. They're the team that beat. They should be well-oiled enough to beat this Midnight team. I do think Midnight will take them up. As said, Midnight have played, of course, online very recently. But I would say that Optic should close this one out fairly handily. I'm going to say 3-1 to them. Let's move on to Tuesday. So we've got is it Genji or Genji? I want to say it's Genji. I can't remember. It's one of the two. I've listened to League of Legends or watched League of Legends when this team's had a team in there, but I think it's Genji. We'll go with Genji. So Genji versus Red first. So Genji, obviously, Team Spacely, if you didn't know. Now, these guys did play against each other at the PLQ, Genji and Red, and it was a close one. And now Genji did take it. However, I do see Red potentially taking it this time. What I will say is I hope, and I don't hope, if they beat Reciprocity, then I feel as if Red will come at this hot. But if they lose, I feel like they could be a little bit tilted from that one. So realistically, this one could go either way. But I feel as if, again, Red's respawn is better than Genji's. They did lose a control, which a lot of people argue they shouldn't have lost. They really did choke that, and that would have been a completely different series had Red won that control. I think they win it this time, and I think they win the series 3-1. I said I think the respawn is very good, and S&D not so great at the moment, but I think the respawn will be the factor. 3 out of the 5 maps are respawn, and that's all that Red really need to do is win 2 hard points and a control, and they'll take the series. I think that's how they'll do it. I'm going to go Red 3-1. Let's move to the next game. This is game number 2 on Tuesday, Midnight versus EG. Now, this one could be interesting. I think, you know, both teams played really, really well at the PLQ. I think EG, I didn't expect them to look as good as they did, and they looked great. Obviously, Midnight, nobody really expected them to look as good as they did, and they did very, very well, of course, going flawless. But I think they've got a really tough start, Midnight. Optic then EG is not the easiest of things in this group, but now I think if they can get some confidence out of that Optic game, they'll come into this nice and hot. But I think EG just had the experience to pip them to it. It'll be EG's first game, which is a factor, I think, as well. But I said, I feel as if it depends what sort of mindset Midnight are in after their first game against OG. I do think EG will pip them to it. I'm going to say 3-2 with last map win in Search and Destroy, or 3-1. But I do think EG win this one. I just think the experience will pay off for the EG squad, who looked really, really good with the addition of Facendo at the PLQ. Now, UIU versus OG. OG had a pretty nice little start, actually. They go up against UIU and Midnight, two teams you would arguably say are two of the weaker, so to speak, teams in this pool. I'm going to address the whole UIU thing now, although I do want to talk about it in another video potentially. I think they made a big mistake dropping Spoof. I'll be honest. I think that, you know, we've seen the experience of this team do pretty decent at Vegas. We've seen them qualify automatically at the PLQ. And then without even playing a game in the Pro League, they've gone to change it. So I'm not too sure how I feel about that change coming in, but I don't know, like Methods, I like the guy and he's a good player and I don't blame him at any point in this. I mean, I don't know if some of you guys see my tweets, I sort of reiterated that. I don't blame him because at the end of the day, he's going to make a career for himself, of course. But Spoof has been replaced by a player who hasn't really shone so far this year. Didn't look great on the FaZe squad, looked okay on the G2 squad. I don't know. I feel like UIU had something decent going, and I just think it's going to have to be a big, big push to go on to beat this OG squad. I'm actually going to say 3-0 to OG here. I think, you know, UIU are going to need some adaptation time with Methods. They played all right in the Pro Down the other day, of course, but for me, I think OG will win this one quite comfortably. Oh, excuse me. Oh, there we go. We'll get it out. I'm tired. Sorry. Okay, so LG versus Rec. Now, I think this will be an interesting game, and it will be LG's first. Now, Rec would have played the day before, so it's not like they'll be going into it nice and warm. But LG haven't looked amazing online as of recent, so I'm curious to see which way this one goes. It's really, really difficult. I'm going to say 3-1 LG. I think that their respawn will prevail in this one. I think, you know, Gunless, arguably one of the best players on this game at this moment in time, he should really come into this game nice and hot. We look at that LG squad from a pure talent aspect, they are phenomenal. If Reciprocity can come in, you know what, like, don't get me wrong, I'm saying 3-1 LG. I could see if Rec can take 2 of the first 4 maps, I could see them taking the S&D. However, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to take 2 of those first 4. I mean, I think LG will win this 3-0, maybe even 3-1. But I said if Rec can do some business, take the S&D, then maybe take the control or one of the hard points, then they're in business and they could win that last map, of course. But I am going to go with LG 3-1 to finish out Tuesday. Although I think that's a very difficult one to predict because LG haven't looked amazing recently online, that sort of thing. It's a long time since Vegas. However, I do believe that they should win this one 3-1. Now, let's move to Wednesday. Reciprocity against Genji to start things off. I think, it's a difficult one. I think Genji might take this one 3-1. I'd say potentially 3-0. I think Genji up against Rec. Now, actually, no, that's complete rubbish. I think they'll take it maybe 3-1. Again, I sort of value them over Rec in the respawns the way we've seen them play. I value them over the S&D as well, but the respawns could go 50-50 either way, I feel, in this one, but I think I'm going to lean towards... I'm going to change my prediction. Sorry, I'm changing all over the place. I've written some of them down. I haven't written some of them down. Just want to sort of get the video out for you guys. But I think that Genji will take this one 3-2. I think their S&D will prevail in this one, and all they need to do is nick one of the respawns, and I think they'll win the S&Ds. So I'm going to say 3-2 to Genji. I'm just writing... I'll be honest, I'm writing these all down because I want to keep a tally of where I'm at and see how wrong I am come the end of the week. And I'll tweet these all out as well before the tournament does start on Monday. But now we got next. Yeah, okay, so I'll just recap on that one. I think Genji are going to beat Rec 3-2. I just think as if the S&D is stronger, and I think they can probably take a respawn off Rec as well. And that's a tough start for Rec. It really is. You're going to play Red, LG, and then Genji. So that's a must-win for Rec, really, in the grand scheme of things. That these are the sort of teams they're going to be competing with, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. LG versus UIU. Again, I think UIU are going to need some more time to adapt with methods on this roster. They've been together so long with Spoofs. That was another reason I didn't really understand as to why they dropped him. I said they weren't tried and tested on LAN against these big oppositions. At least give them a shot in Pro League, I think. And they haven't given them that. And I feel as if these negative vibes will be probably translated to them. Look, I think a lot of those guys on that team will know that, you know, a lot of people are rooting against them. I don't want to say I'm rooting against them myself. I very much disagree with their decision. But in this one, I think LG should be feeling nice about themselves after a late night win on the Tuesday against Reciprocity, I think. And we'll win this one 3. I'm going to say 3. We'll say 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1. I think UIU, again, you know, their searches are fairly decent from what I've seen. They're a good overall, well-balanced team, or were. And it's just interesting to see if Methods is going to bring more to that team or it's going to struggle in terms of chemistry. But LG now, I feel as if they'll be looking good. This will be 3 or 3-1 LG. I'm going to say 3-1 to LG. I think we'll only see 4 maps. Midnight versus Red Reserve. Now, this will be a close game, I think. I'm going to say, this is a bold one, I'm going to go with Midnight 3-2, just because I just don't know if Red's S&D is fixed yet, which is going to be the difficulty. I think they absolutely trump them on the respawns, but I think they could definitely lose a hard point to Midnight the way that we've seen Midnight play at the PLQ. So, interesting to see if that does transpire, but if it does go to last map, I do worry about Red in this one. Midnight S&D look pretty good for the majority of their games at the PLQ. So let's see if they can translate that to Pro League as well. I think Midnight will take this one 3-2. But if Red can make sure they close out their respawns, this could be 3-1 Red as well. I think it's a difficult one to predict. But I'm going to go, if it goes last map, Midnight will win. But if it doesn't, then Red will. But I'm going to say it does go to last map and Red Reserve loses this one 3-2. EG versus OG. Again, I think OG are well ahead of a lot of the teams in this group. I'm really looking forward to seeing OG LG, but we're not going to see that until the next time we visit Division 8. But EG versus OG, I think it's going to be 3-1 OG. I think, you know, Evil Geniuses did look good at the PLQ, but who they were playing against was nobody of the caliber of OG. This could be 3-1 or 3-0. Like, OG are really that good right now. Even their S&D is fantastic, which we know was a struggle for them last year. But going in this one, EG versus OG, I'm going to say 3-1 to OG, to Optic Gaming. Sorry, I'm getting EG OG, confusing myself. Either way, I think Optic are going to win this one 3-1. Their S&D is, you know, it could be 3-0. I'm going to give EG the benefit of the doubt with a map, maybe a controller and S&D, but OG should win this one fairly comfortably. That will round out Wednesday. Now, our final date, we go to Thursday night, and we go to Midnight versus UIU. Now, this is a big game for both these guys. You know, this is sort of bottom to mid-table you'd expect come the end of the Pro League. Maybe not with Midnight. You know, I think one of these teams that could potentially do something, but will they? I'm just not too sure yet. Midnight, I feel, will take this one, though. I think UIU's struggles will continue. Look, I think, you know, they could potentially be a lot better with methods. We just don't know. But I think, you know, these bad vibes will have an effect on this team, and there still will need to be some adjustment period for this squad. But Midnight, as I said, have looked pretty good. And I think they'll be riding high potentially off a win against Red Reserve, but we will see. I think, as I said, that one is up in the air. That one could be that is a difficult game to predict. This one, not so difficult. I'm going to say 3-1 to Midnight in this one. I think that UIU, as I said, their struggles will continue at Midnight. I feel as if we're feeling pretty nice about themselves as long as they bring that same form we've seen in the PLQ. OG versus Rec. Now, this Rec or Unilad last year were famously a team that did cause a lot of problems to OG, but it's a very different OG team this time around. I'm going to say 3-0 to OG. I actually like, and that's no disrespect to Rec. I just think that OG are gonna look that good. As long as they don't come in cold, like things have changed. Actually, you know, things have changed a lot since Vegas. So, you know, some things could have changed in other teams' favor, but I think that you look at how well OG's been playing online, that doesn't seem to be affecting them so much. Yes, okay, they haven't been as strong. I'm gonna give Rec a map. I'm gonna give Rec a map. I'm gonna give them 2. I've changed my mind very, very quickly because I realized that Rec and OG played against each other online, and I know there was issues with connection, that sort of thing, but Rec were one of the first teams to beat them online. And I'm going to put some stock behind it. I'm going to put a little bit of stock behind it. I think OG's S&D will be too strong, but I think Rec could maybe nick a hard point in a control or a control in an S&D, where OG, as said, hopefully they're warm by this point. I expect them to be. You know, they've got, how many games have they got? This will be their 4th game, so they should be nice and warm and used to what's going on in this current patch on LAN, of course, as opposed to everybody else who is more up to date with OG not playing at the PLQ, of course. I'm going to say 3-2 OG. I think this will be a better game than I maybe transpired at the first and give my opinion on it first. I think Rec definitely could go toe-to-toe with them, potentially on the odd map here and there, but I do think OG will prevail. As I said, I'm going to say 3-2 to OG. I definitely think they win this. I don't know if it'll be as close as that. It could be 3-0, it could be 3-1. I think OG win either way, but I think Rec can put up a good account of themselves. Red VLG, this is a great game. I'm going to give it 3-2 to LG, because I think they go toe-to-toe with each other in the respawns. I think Red take the control, absolutely. I think Red then take one of the hard points. LG will take a respawn off them and then win the 2 S&Ds. As said, a lot of what I'm saying about Red is that I think their S&D still isn't there yet. But if their S&D gets there, they could potentially win all their games this week. They really could. But if it isn't there, which I presume as soon after the PLQ that it isn't going to be. It's just not enough time for it to be fixed just yet. They keep making small mistakes. Unless they get rid of those small mistakes in Search and Destroy, they're going to struggle against a team like LG. But as said, I think their respawns are very, very good. And I think that they could take a couple of them. But I think if we go last map, LG will take it. Red will be looking to win all the respawns, of course. So could take it 3-1. Don't want to see a map number 5 from them. But if we do, I think LG will take it. And to close out week 1 of the Pro League 2019 for the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going to be Genji versus EG. Why do I feel like these two? No, that's somebody else. Okay, so these two haven't played each other this week already. This is a tough one. It's a really, really tough one. I'm going to say 3-2 Genji. I think that will, again, see a last map. And I just think their S&D is really, really good. It'll be interesting to see if they feel any pressure under this huge organization now. Evil Geniuses were looking really good in the Pro League qualifier, of course. I think Genji take this 3-2. I think it's a very, very hard game to predict. This one really could go either way, but I'm going to commit to a 3-2 result to Genji. And for no other reason than I think their S&D is potentially stronger than EG's, but we'll wait and see. I think it's a very, very difficult one to call. I think there's a lot of difficult games to call. I'm going to run through my predictions one by one once again. Let me know your thoughts in the comments also. So Red Reserve versus Rec, I'm going to say 3-1 to Red. OG versus Midnight, we're going to say 3-1 to OG. Genji versus Red, I'm going to say 3-1 Red. Midnight versus EG, I'm going to say EG 3-2. UIU versus OG, I'm going to say 3-0 OG. LG versus Rec, 3-1 to LG. Rec versus Genji, I'm going to say 3-2 to Genji. LG versus UIU, 3-1 to LG. Midnight versus Red, 3-2 to Midnight. That one I'm not sure on. There's a lot I'm not sure on. EG versus OG, 3-1 to OG, Optic Gaming. Midnight versus UIU, I'm going to say 3-1 to Midnight. OG versus Rec, I'm going to say 3-2 or 3-1 to OG. We'll give it some leeway on that one. Red versus LG, I'm going to say 3-2 to LG. And Genji versus EG, to close things out, I'm going to say 3-2 Genji. Now, I actually can't wait for Monday now. I'm really looking forward to it. Guys, please let me know your predictions below. I'll try and leave a little template so you can just fill in the scores of what you think. Leave your comments below, and I'm not going to do a giveaway if anybody gets it. Actually, if somebody gets them right, I'll I'll give away a tub of G Fuel. How about that? There we go. So if somebody gets all the scores exactly right, then I'll give you a tub of G Fuel. So I'm pretty safe on that one. I think somebody would do fantastic to do so, and I will be checking if you are editing your comments or whatnot. But as said, let me know your opinions below. This has been a significantly longer video than I thought it would be, but a lot of games to watch, a lot of Call of Duty to be watching, and I like how it's been stretched out over the week. Really interested to see what happens. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a subscription and like on the channel. Plenty more to come, and I'm really happy that, you know, Pro League has now come around. There's so much content I can try and put out around it. I'm excited to watch it too. I'm sure you guys are as well. Thank you for checking out the video, and we'll see you on the next one.